Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm Samantha Cotterill.
And I'm Claudia Rueda.
All right, let's jump into it. Claudia, thank you for meeting with us today. We have been talking about your work internally here, me, Sam, and Lee. Lee couldn't make it. He's actually on his way to New York City for SCBWI.
Yeah.
But we are just so enamored with the work that you're creating. And
Thank you.
I'd like to kick off the initial conversation starter here is why children's books? Why, what was it about that made you want to be a part of that world?
I'm going to give you a little bit of my background, which is really quick. Yeah. I really wanted to make pictures that would say something. And I didn't want to go into visual arts, but I really wanted to say something. And like illustration, when I was planning to go to college, was not an option. But I started with political cartoons, but I saw that those were very ephemeral. Like next day, they don't mean anything.
Right.
And no, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. It's a very good training, but and then I went into educational books, graphic books, because I really believe in education, in changing society's beliefs from when I was young. But then it was by chance that I ended up in picture books for children because my husband and I wanted to learn about computer graphics, and we were living in Colombia at that time, and we decided to move to San Francisco. And I found by chance, totally by chance, that I love serendipity. I strongly believe in serendipity. And I found this class on children's book illustration. And I say, okay, I have one day available. I might take that class. I don't know what it is. But I didn't know what a child was then because I didn't have my daughters were born afterwards. And I took the class and I totally fell in love with it. Why? Because it combined drawing that I have always loved, saying things with pictures. But there was also writing and there was storytelling, and there was so much freedom because writing for children gives you such a broad range of possibilities. So literature, storytelling, I was not into storytelling before. And I said, okay, this is a wonderful, wonderful place for me to develop my visual narratives and my stories and all that. And it was like a click. It worked, and was the beginning of everything, actually.
It's actually very fascinating because you and I have some similar stories in that aspect, and that I didn't start picture books until I was in my 40s, and a long history leading up to it. But then there was a point after taking several years off of what I was doing that I just started to kind of put pictures out there daily, and they were almost like cartoon kind of one-off, almost New Yorker-y style pictures. And it just so happened that Kirsten Hall of Catbird Agent reached out and just said, had you ever thought about picture books? And it's something I hadn't even thought about. It's not a world I really knew. And little did I know that one reach out and that one email and connection opened up a whole world I didn't even know that I was meant to be a part of. And that was 12 years ago. And kind of like you, just it was a moment.
Yeah, of course, sometimes you hesitate, like, am I in the right place? But most of the time it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of room for creativity and innovation. Not in the publishing department, but in your desk, there's a lot of possibilities. There are lots of possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you? So right then and there, you like the aha moment happened. Like, oh, picture books are a thing. That's something I want to do. What was your next? Like, how did you break into children's books?
Yeah, that class was really good because they would tell you everything about storyboarding and picture book dummies and agents and all that, but they also told you how to submit. So, of course, I was living in San Francisco, but everything will go to New York City. So I will start. At that point, I wanted to be an illustrator. I wasn't thinking about writing. So I started sending, and I found this SVWI conference in New York City, and they have an opening for illustration showcase, and I decided to submit one of my art, like one project I was working on. You have to know that that was like after a year of rejection letters, of course. It always goes like that. So I
Yeah.
sent it and I got selected and I got the second place, like, and I was not the first, but the second place in the illustration. But the big award for me is that of course, I decided to go because that's what I do. You go to New York City and you meet the person. And one of the juries was an art director at Scholastic. And she was wonderful. And I told her, do you have time this week? And I'll show you my portfolio. And I went to his office. And 1 month later, she sent me the possibility of illustrating a manuscript by Pam Munoz Ryan, which was very, and still a very well-known author. And I said, of course, yes. And so she asked me, do you like research and do you like animals? And I said, yes. I like everything. Please bring it to me. And I did that one. And afterwards, we developed a very nice relationship. And I sent them my own manuscript, and they liked it, and they published it. And then came the third, and well, I already had 2 books of my own with Scholastic Press, which was like beginning of everything. At the same time, I live parallel lives, not because I have a problem. Okay, maybe I have a problem. But we moved back to Colombia because of our children, and I developed a career also in Mexico and Spain, and so I had those both careers that do not touch that much. They are very parallel. But and that was the beginning of my career, and then I published with Abrams and with Dial Penguin and with Chronicle Books, and it's been a beautiful journey. Difficult, a lot of work, a little bit of frustration, but it is going well.
Yeah.
And now I'm with Candlewick with the Smushkins.
I think you wanted to, I just want to quickly touch upon something that I think is important that you brought up, is that you, quote unquote, faced a lot of rejection before you got to that SCBWI moment of kind of this acquisition moment through that woman that you met at the conference, and that you have been through a whole process of almost these failures, so to speak, in terms of the rejections, and that it isn't just something that you put a project out into the world and it instantly gets picked up. And for students out there, that to be ready for those moments that are going to be met, where there's going to be rejection letters, there's going to be failures in that aspect, and just that you never know what will come when you just kind of keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I tell that to my students as well. It's chance, it's luck. There's a lot of luck. You find the right person for the right project, but doesn't mean don't take it personally. Yeah.
Can I get, like, just for context, how long ago was this? Was it like 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What was like the time frame?
Oh, that was like 2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that was
Yeah.
my first book published. Yes. Yeah.
And then how was it? So you said you had like parallel careers. Are you talking an American publishing career and a Spanish publishing career, or were you doing
mostly a Mexican Spanish? They are both Mexican and Spanish publisher, and I've done a lot of books with them. I did a lot of books with them at the same time, but it's parallel because they purchase very different kind of books, big books, but their sensibility and their concerns and what they want, the way they want to talk to children is quite different.
what's the
Because it's difficult to describe, but I can try.
what's the difference
Yeah.
between American publishing and I guess Latin American publishing, right?
Yeah.
U.S. publishing in Latin America.
Latin American publishing industry is very much inspired by the European market. So if you're a little bit familiar with that, this is very, very much, very, very little from the American books. They don't purchase too many. They don't translate too many books from only the really, really big ones like Sendak or something like that, but no more. And they don't go to or like the very, very, very top. And most of the inspiration we get is from Spain, because Spain translates into Spanish many of the European books. So that's one thing. That's one thing. They don't take care so much care of children. Like they don't care to talk about death or having like a naked child or having some glasses of wine on the table or all those things. They don't even think about it. I mean, they don't care. But
and there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in that, and I think that's kind of missed here, where you see, I mean, just even little moments where. I know Felicia de Sala has a wonderful book where there's a little scene where the boy is peeing in the bushes in the back scene, and it's just a true moment of childhood.
Exactly. Those are the things that you will get. But at the same time, sometimes they go too far into beauty and like the very talented illustrations in very detailed, very beautiful, as it is with like it's coming like from the Bologna school, I would say. And you don't see too much of this graphic comic style thing that you can see in the UK or in the US, like Quentin Blake or Dr. Seuss or those kind of geniuses that I really adore, Jules Pfeiffer. All those graphic, they didn't have that movement. That he came to the US in the 50s and it was so fresh. So like there's no better. I mean, it's different. Humor, there's more humor in the US than it is. The Europeans tend to be very serious. They are very open to everything, but they are more serious. And I love humor. So it's a combination of, I try. I may be making mistakes, but that's my sense.
Well, and all of our European listeners are going to be so upset. We too have sense of humor.
Bring them to me. We can discuss. Yeah.
So, I guess then the transition to U.S. publishing was more creative. You saw more creative opportunity there than anything else. Was that what it was, or was it more of a practical business opportunity?
Oh yes, business definitely. Yeah. They pay much more in the US. And creatively, in terms of visual narrative expressiveness, like I can do. If you see my books published in the US, they are very graphic. They're very. I can do silly. I can do humor. I can do joy. I can do.
I'm gonna share my screen and just show your website here.
Yeah, but at the same time, remember that I wanted to change the world. And if I want to do more serious stuff, like talking about more serious stuff, I will have to go to the publishers in Mexico and Spain and even in Colombia.
Yeah. Oh, and Jake is showing right now the Smushkins interior art for a book that was released in December, correctly?
Yeah.
And I believe, and you are the author illustrator, so this is your story, but this is the introduction, correct, to their world and the characters, almost like a precursor to the series.
Yeah. And you might like to know, since most of your audience is artists, is illustrators and authors. Actually, the books that we submitted to Candlewick, who is the publisher of these books, were the following books, the ones that are going to be published in March, like the Colors books and the ABC Zoinks book. That was our submission, and with those books they acquired the whole package.
Oh, okay. And
And
those are brilliant. The
thank
colors
you.
book in particular, there is something very Hervé Toulet about it in terms of like the press here books with the color and the mixing.
Oh yes, I
And
love Herbert.
I
Yes.
just absolutely love what you've done here in terms of you're taking kind of these concepts of color introduction, but you're doing it in just such a fun, approachable way with some humor. There's one in there where the knitting and orange, and I just love the character just kind of in a full on, overly knit. And as you get on with the colors, there's just, you really handle it so brilliantly with the black and the color. It's a beautifully done
Thank you.
participatory
Thank
experience
you
as
so much.
well for the reader that, and, and I think to me, it also really connects with the child in terms of giving them a lot of agency to kind of put themselves in the story because there's a lot of breathing room.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. And that's very important for me. I don't want to be like the book where you have an apple and the text says apple. So, and that's very much into colors, the colors book.
Mhm.
The relationship between the words and images is so subtle, and there's so much for the reader to build up. Like you use water, green, but it doesn't say that there is a plant that the character. So is we're using the verb, and then comes the color, but the
Mhm.
evolution is in the picture.
Mhm.
So that's what I really want to do with picture books, for the
Yeah.
reader to participate in the interpretation of the meaning of the story. And
Yeah.
then, oh, okay, so I'm gonna finish the sentence. So when we submitted the Colors on ABC book, they suggested that we should, for me to create an introductory book, an introductory picture book. And you as authors know how hard it is to do a commission.
Yeah.
That was tough. That was tough to come out with a book. But I decided to do like origin story where they
Mhm.
find their home, where they're looking for a house, and an opportunity for me to show how they are, their personalities. I was exploring the personalities because with that book I began with the characters, but there were like a bunch of characters looking for a story. I didn't have a story. I just had the characters, and I fell in love with the characters. But for a long time, I didn't know what to do with them.
Well,
So
and that happens. I mean, sometimes you can create, and like Jake and I were talking right before meeting with you, uh, the book that kind of I have coming out next year, the character itself has been around for about 3 years. And I just didn't know yet I was just trying to learn who this duck was, a bit more about the duck. And it wasn't a time that it's only until recently did it decide to come out. But with this book that you wrote with the creating what kind of house would they want, I think I really got a sense that you were really writing for the reader, the child whose idea of what they would want in a house. It's not going to be what you and I would necessarily look for in a house. And
oh yeah, not 2 bedrooms and one washing and dry.
yeah, and there was a moment where it's walls to be able to draw on. And I instantly went back to one of my favorite memories. We moved around an awful lot. I'm from England, moved around Europe and States. But the one thing my mom did every time we moved into a new house, every time, my mom was an artist. And this was when we knew that every room was going to be wallpapered over. And before she did that, she put crayons, paint on the floor, everything. And we had free reign to go over the entire house and
That's
we could
amazing.
paint
Oh, I love
whatever
your
we wanted.
mom. I love your mom.
It was amazing. And so we would just paint all over the walls. The best part is that we would draw things we knew maybe weren't the most appropriate, but when the wallpaper was on top, people would come into that space and we knew what was under
You
that
knew
wallpaper.
Oh, that's great.
that's fun.
I can see why you like the Smushkins.
We did that when my kids were, it was probably 10 years ago. We were building in a new fireplace, and so we had this big massive wall of just unpainted what's the board that's behind the wall, what is that called?
Like the drywall stuff.
Yeah, drywall. Yeah. And so I went up and just drew something on it. And then we had markers out. And then one by one, all the kids started drawing. And you know, my family, like my kids, every one of them draws. Like they all know how to make an interesting image. So it had this beautiful tapestry of you know, just lucid thought happening, you know, spewing forth on the wall, right? And it was just beautiful and it was fun. And then finally it was the, you know, the day that went on for a couple months. And the day was we had to paint over it. So my wife paints over it. She does a couple coats because it's red and black Sharpie marker,
Oh yeah, that's hard.
right? And you know, the paint covers it, maybe 3 coats, and it's good. And finally, you know, you can't see any of the line work anymore. And like a week later, there's a chemical reaction with red Sharpie and the paint that we use that it just soaked right through. So then you could see all the red Sharpie
Oh, I
like
love
blurry through the paint.
Oh,
And my wife's like, "What?"
that.
And she paints over it again. We had to paint it like 20 times to get
Oh my
the
goodness.
the marker to not show through.
Oh, that's a magical moment. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I'm glad that you mentioned that because and Jake, that you're talking about the experience with your children. This is a celebration of childhood. This book, I mean, totally at this house, and it's. When I was thinking about you do your work and then you do your interpretation once you have the interviews and the reviews and all that, and I can see that this is a celebration of childhood and of play, and it's like the world of play. They were asking me if they were not adults in the story, and they were not because they are playing. It's a metaphor for playing, and there's no
Yeah.
room for adults when children play. So it's
Sure.
totally playful and a celebration of playfulness.
Well, and I think what it really speaks to that too is that as an adult, we kind of associate objects and things through our own lived experiences and history of things that have happened. And as kids, there's such an innocence there with at this age. And I pulled a quote because I just thought about speaking with you today, and it just really resonated with me. Again, this goes back to the Hervé Toulet and his work and approach. And he had said something about more specifically with babies and toddlers, and the reason why he really loves creating for this audience. And he just basically says that I'm convinced that the baby understands everything because it understands nothing. It understands nothing because it can understand everything. And there's really a special door that exists between the baby and the artist, and just this beautiful play with kind of the vocabulary and the objects. And you can, as a child, create everything out of something so small. And I think you're kind of really tapping into that even at the slightly older place with the Smushkins, that I just kept going to this moment and felt like you really tapped into that with this book and with the colors. And I'm a fan. Can you tell?
I love it, and I love that Hervé Toulet comment, and I would say that I've been thinking about this, and I believe that this is very much connected with the fact that things still don't have a name, and things for us as adults, once we give names to objects, it is more the name than the object. So we're so much into our minds that we don't see the tree for the tree and the leaves for the leaves and the sun and the light, but we see the word tree. And that's there's so much limitation because we lose all the possibilities of all the possible trees that we can see. So the acquisition of language, and of course growing up, it doesn't make us look more the world but less, as
Yeah.
saying. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and especially if those objects become a symbol of some marker of event in time that you can't seem to dissociate from, and so you have a hard time of being able to look
this-
beyond that.
Yeah. We're not supposed to have so much memory. That's one thing that worries me about computers and memories and all that, because it's good to forget as well, because we leave room for more things to come.
Yeah. No, just brilliant. So,
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Smushkin character designs.
Oh, yeah.
What is a Smushkin exactly?
Okay, yeah. Okay, it's good that you asked me that. These Smushkins are these imaginary creatures, and I
Mm-hmm.
was talking about like playfulness, but it's also they came out in. I was playing on my with my iPad. During COVID, I got a new my first iPad. I was playing around, so there is not so much planning in the
Mm-hmm.
making of them, but I would say that it's a combination of two things. One is that I really love all this prehistoric and origins art where they combine these totems and the combination of human and humanistic and animal things, and where they combine different animals. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
mythology also combines like the face head of a dog and the tail of a dragon. All those I've always loved that combination, and I always love all these combinations that surrealist artists do, like with all this playful way of approaching drawing. But I believe there's a lot of inspiration in that, but I don't know. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I've drawn many animals in my life because most of my books are come with animals. So probably it's a combination of both things. But if from my mind, and now that I see that, it's also very much related with playfulness and imagination and what happens in the world of dreams, which is
Mm-hmm.
surrealist, but also in the world of play. And there is a developmental psychologist that I've been reading a lot while developing all these books for small children, and she says that children sometimes see the world as we see them with hallucinogens, like with they hallucinate in a way, but in a
Mm-hmm.
very good way. Like it's a very creative way because they don't have the restrictions of the mind, of the frontal mind and the rational mind. So probably it's something related with that. Is like playfulness with the world itself. There's a lot of playfulness in the fact that you combine bunny's ears with raccoon body, and
Mm-hmm.
when I was showing this to children during my school visits, they were laughing so much. They find it so funny. So I love funny as well.
Yeah.
So they are imaginary creatures that behave very much like children and love to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're creating, so when we're because when I look at Smushkins, each one of these characters definitely has a different personality in terms of one seems to be kind of like
Yes.
the quote unquote, like the maternal one, the one there's a shy one, and when you're designing the characters, let's say, depending on what you kind of decide to combine and put together, are you exploring the personalities of each one and just trying to live in their spaces for a bit to figure out how would they handle this moment, what would they do in this situation, and do you change the physical attribute combinations based on the personalities that are coming? How do you do that?
That's the wonderful thing about creating with pictures, because I believe that you connect much more with your subconscious when you're drawing than when you're writing, except that you're doing poetry, maybe. So there is a strong connection. And as I was telling you, I created the characters without planning.
Mm-hmm.
It was afterwards, like already talking with my editor, that I started to find out how they would behave. There is an image in the book that you were showing that they are on the on a tree,
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
and I decided to explore to ask them about their personalities. So if you have an apple tree, what would you do? Of course, Puff will go to the top and grab all the apples because he's this character is the bold one, the fearless one, the
Mm-hmm.
cool one, and he's never afraid of anything. And for example, Opie, who's on the floor, he tries to be like Puff, but he's so clumsy that he always falls and has that problem. So, and there's always, you were talking about like the one that is more, behaves more like a mother
Yeah.
who's carrying the apples to the kitchen to make the apple pie. Yeah,
Right.
she will take care of everyone.
Yeah.
In this case. And she's the one who cooks. She's the one who does all those things. It's still a child, but you used to have this girl at school. Normally it was a girl, but it could be
Yeah.
a boy as well, who will take care of everyone. Who will be like the good person.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
So I put them in the position, and that this was my first study. It was much more sketchy, but this was the first time that I was exploring the personalities, and it came out really well. I started to get to know them, but mostly asking them the kind of place where they will be in the tree, and then I would take them to the beach, and they will behave differently, and they were talking to me in that way. So I started to at that point I was able to do like a chart, and I will just I describe. Of course, you try to go to people you know, to things that you remember from yourself, and the things you like your aspirational character, and the side you don't like about you, and that is reflected, and the little one who is eating the apple is the cute one, the ones who like flowers and take care of the garden, and so it's been developing that way. I try to be. I've been trying to be very organic about this, and at this point, I was beginning to know them as the readers. I go along with the readers, which is kind of fun, and now I know them really well, and now I'm being able to create stories. So I have already created 4 stories for them, because once you know their personalities really well, it makes it much easier to develop the stories. There was one advice coming from the publisher saying, okay, focus on 4 characters because everybody's going to be very confused because you have too many. So yes, I decided to do that. I mean, I'm focusing on Mo, Opie, Puff, and Leo, and those are the ones I'm focusing on. But they are always together, and they take small parts in the whole thing, and that's how I've been developing, not with a manual, not with the formula, but mostly drawing from the way they look, and from the things they do once they put them into different situations, and doing the ABC book was very useful because I had to. Of course, as you know, I did much more images than the ones that you find in the book, and because we were trying different words, and we had to do the alphabet book also for the Spanish audience, so we had to change a lot. So I created lots of situations, and that was a great opportunity for me to get to know them much better, because it was like the drum. Who would play the drum? Who would be annoyed with the noise of the drum? Who would like to be in the bathtub with full of foam? Who would like to be eating a lot? Who would like to be outdoors? So they will say, me, I want to be there.
Yeah. I think that's a great approach to just really getting to know who these characters are, and it's a great conversation with these characters, and I'm sure that this project is different to another. Like, every project requires something different from you, so the approach that you took to this series isn't necessarily, I'm assuming, the exact same approach that you would do to something else. Do you find that each, like for me, I'm noticing that with each project, it's even the size of the sketchbook I use to create, or pieces of paper that I use to come up with ideas, or where I'm going to create and sketch. Is it going to be in a different room of the house? I feel like every project never follows the same formula, and it's always very dependent on that particular story. And I don't know, do you have that experience as well?
Totally. I even changed too much, because normally it was supposed to be good for your brand to have a very recognizable style, and I totally go with the flow, the story, and the meaning and the theme. But that's much porn because I don't like to repeat myself. I the only way that I can keep going doing this with passion and with creativity is to have a challenge. If
Yeah.
I'm not challenged, it becomes very, very boring. I mean a creative challenge and a style challenge. Otherwise, in this case, in the case of the Smushkins, right now, my challenge is to create good stories, and that's very difficult.
And
Like
I completely relate to that, as Jake knows very well that I relate to that because I went through that exact thing. And I think to me, it got to that place where it then culminated in a burnout. And I realized I needed to switch, and because that's how I am. And Jake sees that I'm now doing very, very minimal blocks. So it's like very different. But
Yeah.
and it's all of a sudden then it's opened up a whole new excitement and level of energy, and ideas are coming after quite a stale period because that is how I am as well. I need to change things up. And so I see that in your breadth of work.
get out of that burnout.
How did I get?
A long story. You probably already talked about it in the podcast.
Oh, no. I think it's just being okay with trying something different. And as Jake knows, I went through a lot of trials of just putting it all out and just trying different things. And it's just kind of combination of self-care and just being okay with just completely switching gears. And I see that with your evolution of your portfolio, you can see these interests. And to me, it comes off as an interest in research and learning new things about a particular kind of medium and then just going with it and having fun. And so you can see the joy in the discovery with your projects.
That's great. Yeah, if you don't have joy, it reveals in the illustrations. I've done that. We have all been there, right?
Yeah.
You ended up working on a book that you really don't like. And you don't see the joy in the illustrations, and that's bad. So I'm glad that you overcame it and that you're on the other side, because I've been there and it's not nice.
I know.
Can I ask how long has Smushkins been in development for you?
Well, the first sketches appeared during COVID.
Okay.
But that was a long stay. Like I closed that file and I didn't see them I didn't go there for a while. Then it was like the end of COVID when I was working with my agent for a submission, and I decided, and I told her, I have this, I might create some ideas for it. That probably was 2022, 2023. And I started creating those ideas, and that was the year when we submitted, probably. So it's been, I would say, 5 years, and it was like working on this book. It's been a long process. I'm already working on the 5th book. There's so much delay between the ending when you finish the art and when it gets published, which is very
well. It's interesting that you're coming out of the gate with 3 books.
Yeah.
Right, and it's Smushkins, Meet the Smushkins, but then there's these 2 board books. Was that your idea, or was that the publisher saying, "Hey, we've got an idea here. Are you ready for this?" and presenting it to you?
It was the publisher's idea to do the picture book first, definitely.
Okay.
My submission only included the concept books, like the colors and the ABC. And they said, okay, we can do a picture book with that. And now I have I have more ideas for picture book stories.
Yeah.
And the picture book was seen more as just like a get to know these characters. Was it like set upon as an introduction to these cast of characters so that you can then go into the board books more specifically?
That was the idea and there's I just learned, because I don't have that much experience with board books in the US, that board books and picture books have a different track in general, like in publicity, in marketing. everything. Even your royalties are different. so 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 probably they wanted to start with a picture book to have more exposition and more seriousness. They take it more serious in a way, which I love board books. I love the format and I love it. So it was a good idea, and I knew it made me work much more on the book, on the stories and the characters. It was great. Yeah.
That's cool. So it seems like the Smushkins is like the next chapter, a new chapter in your career. What was like what were you doing before the Smushkins that like I would say gave birth to them, or you ended something to begin this? I don't know if that's coming across right, but just going from your website, it looks like we have the Smushkins, then we have Otto and Oye Tu. Is that how you pronounce it? Hey you.
Yeah.
Which those all kind of feel like a shift into this more iconic
Totally.
design.
There was a lot. There's a strong symbolic language there, and it comes from COVID again. Of course, COVID was not, as we all know, was not only the pandemic, but there were so many horrible things happening in the world then, like the war and like, totally a big change in our history, unfortunately. So I was very worried about that. I love history. I love, in a way, in a good way. I like politics and all that. So I wanted to talk about misunderstanding between people, and I created, which is it in a way. Now I see that in a way it is related to the Smushkins. So I created a book totally about diversity, like that is all you do. Hey you. So I wanted to create about an invitation to a character in the book to get to know other characters who look different and be curious, because I comes from a book that I read about how to kill a fanatic, and how to not to kill a fanatic, like how to avoid
Sure.
it, right? Not to be a fanatic. It just sounds,
The books really are different in Latin
sorry
America.
about that. Yeah. So how not to be a fanatic, and curiosity is a way to not to be a fanatic, and it was about a book about being curious about the others. So that was one book. I submitted it to this thing that is in Europe, that is called Victus, which is for unpublished books, like a portfolio thing, and it was selected. And then I also created a book, and it's got to be with what I was talking to you about, language. I don't know philosophy, but it's a little bit like philosophical thing, which is funny. But it's about how most of our misunderstanding because of social media is related with the meaning we give to words. I mean, even moral now has a different meaning, for like law and right has a different meaning. So this is the story of three mole siblings who live under the earth.
Yeah.
and they haven't seen the world, and each one gets out and talks about, oh, this is so bright, and creatures who fly are so nice, and the color green is like the green animals talk, and they use the same words, but one goes ends up in a landscape during the day, in a beautiful landscape, and the other one goes out when it's night, and the last one, Lola, goes to the city, and the bright for one is the sun, for the other one is the moon, and for the one is a traffic light. So they use the same words, and it's a totally different experience. So if you can see, it's very related to what has been happening with too much use of words in social media without the experience, and that's everything related with artificial intelligence, which is too much focus on words And we are much more than that. And that's why childhood is so important. And that's why childhood is not about words. And what, again, going back to Betulé, no words. No word. We don't have words for the world. We just experience it.
Yeah.
So the three were connected without me knowing. And those were the three projects that I sent to my agent to be submitted to the US publishers. And they went for the Smushkins. And there's Smushkins in a way. They are so joyful, and they want to be in the world with no screens. There's nothing, no electronics in the making of these books, except that it's done in an iPad. Sorry about that. There had to be some flow, but the rest is all organic. They're not hippies. They're just children. They like to play and with nature and with food and with art and with playground and all that. So it's also that, and they are. It's not that now that I'm developing the stories, it's not that they don't have problems. Of course, they have a stranger that comes to town and is very annoying, and they go to visit a niece, and it's a haunted house, and they're very afraid. So things happen. They have problems, but at the end, the most important thing is to be together and solve the problems together. So there is. It's not educational, it's not moralistic, but they behave in a way that might be inspirational. And I believe that at least children's books, but I also like adult books who are inspirational, and they are connected in that way. I already forgot what was your question, but that was a long answer.
No, it's good. I actually wanted to shift gears, unless you had a follow up to that, Sam. But
No, all I wanted was a follow-up comment on what you just said, because going back to the design, the color choices of that book, what I love about the kind of pared down imagery of the interiors and the outside is it's not so location specific, in that it allows any reader, any child, to think of that as my space, or they can relate to it in terms of just looking out the window. And so it is easy for them to put themselves into that story. And then because of all of that empty space you have visually, then I think that the kids can, I've noticed that the more simple the imagery, sometimes the easier the kids have to be able to then step into the world. And it's their world as well. And so then the book becomes part of their experience. And so just listening to you talk, I feel like the level of decision making in terms of what you chose to do illustration wise really helps kind of just marry all of that together. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what's...
No, it has totally makes sense for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is because I navigate the symbolic world when I illustrate, not the real world.
I was curious, and I know we're getting close on our time with you here, but I just want to know about your workflow, the way you, I guess, carve out time in your day to make this stuff happen. I want to know, you're a mom. I don't know if your kids are at home still or if they're older or what, but I'm curious, like, how do you stay productive? How do you create these books? What's your schedule like? What's your routine look like?
Yeah. My daughters are already grown up, so they left the house. They went to college, and that's a big difference, of course. But they were also very inspirational when they were children.
Yes.
So it's, you gain one thing and you lose another thing.
Right. That's true.
All the playfulness and the joy that children bring you, you always find the time to work, even though you have them in the house. But now as me and my husband, we live in New York City, and we have a lot of experience. So but I keep kind of the same routine. I first coffee, of course, and then I try to if I have to write something, I try to do it very early in the morning when there is no noise of emails and ringing of the bell and all that. So very early in the morning is really good for writing. even it could be writing of your own projects or writing something that you have to write for somebody, a description of your work or anything. And then I work out at around 8 or 9. Always I have to move a little bit the body and the mind. And then at 10 I start working again. I work a lot. And normally I am one track person. I cannot do several things at the same time. So if I'm doing it, for example, this week I was doing the revisions for the 5th Smushkins book, like the kind of the final revisions, and I could not do anything else. So unfortunately that's drawing. So I listen to podcasts like the one that you have, which is so much fun. I try to go for illustration podcast, something joyful and creative, and or something related to nature, not news, because that's for another time.
That's rough.
That's difficult. Yeah. You start doing research, but that's like the perfect, beautiful day. Like you draw, and sometimes I have to go when I cannot focus on something. I have to leave my studio and go to where there's people and go to a coffee. So like when I'm in a difficult moment and I notice that I'm procrastinating and I have to clean the house, I have to call that, I have to go there. No, I am in trouble. So I have to go to a coffee shop. I go to a coffee shop and I work on that the full morning, and it works so well because in a way there's a lot of distraction. But there is no distraction. Like this noise is good. I try to have lunch at home, which I like. I love cooking and I love home cooking. And restaurants are not are expensive, so I'm not for your health. And then I work again, and I try to, but I work again until 5 or 6, and then I try to have something else. I'm now doing some reading in the morning as well. I try to read a novel or good. And last semester was so tough. I worked so much that I was not reading like novels, and I believe that's terrible for me. And so I try to read in the morning. If I don't write, I try to read with coffee early in the morning. And at the end of the day, I try to go to go for a walk, to see a movie, a concert, and there are so many things. Or there are a lot of events related to illustration, books, and so I try to do it at least twice a week. And then the weekends I try to have access to nature, to walking, to not to be so much focused to a museum, to get some inspiration. But that's like the good days. That the bad days, I once I finish a project, I procrastinate for 2 or 3 days, and it's horrible. So,
I think,
That's fair.
yeah, we are very much the same. And I think you're basically mirroring a lot of what we've been talking about on the podcast. And I know Jake and I are also trying to kind of really recognize that quality in the practice that comes from reading more and that's kind of really helping get our creative juices going a bit more. But we often talk about the need to get out and go and see things and take those breaks. And is your studio space in where you live, or is that a separate?
It's my apartment at this point. Yeah, I cannot afford to have a studio, but I can afford. It's where you have your space at home or you have it outside, but it's really hard to have both. So I decided to go for in-house.
Yeah.
And you said you're in New York?
I'm in New York City, yes.
Okay. So are you going to SCBWI? You'll
Not
stop
this
in?
year. I went there last time, and I gave a workshop, which was great. But this year I don't, and so I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too bad. Yeah, because I'll be there, and Lee and I will be there, but I'll be heading down tomorrow. So I was hoping you would say you were going to be there. But
Oh, okay. Are you going to tomorrow to the dinner? Not that dinner, the cocktail, the opening cocktail?
no, I think that one is invite only. I don't think I was invited to that. So I'm going to the Saturday
If
one.
you know
but-
someone,
You can go. It's okay.
Oh,
No,
is it? Okay. Well, then I'll
Yeah.
crash it.
Oh,
So I'll be
is it
there.
included with the ticket? Is that it's
yes.
whatever?
I don't know if you would broadcast that, but
Don't worry.
Um,
This will come out after the conference, so you won't get
yeah,
in
it's
trouble.
local knowledge.
yeah, that's cool. That's good. Well, it's been great
Yeah.
meeting with you. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thank you
coming
for
on.
having me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and keep doing this. It's wonderful for us as illustrators. It's so inspirational. Love it. Love your podcast.
Oh, good. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. We'll
Yeah.
keep doing it then.
And thanks for your wonderful questions. I
Yeah.
like them very much.
That was
All right.
amazing.
It was. That was. What was your? Did you just looking back? I know we just got off the phone with her, but was there any big takeaways from that for you?
I just think for me, the biggest takeaway was just really getting a sense for how much she just tapped into looking through the eyes of kids and how they're looking at the world and just their
Mhm.
need to be able to live in this playful place and not let kind of the vision of our adult experiences cloud that too much. I really resonated with a lot of her
Mhm.
work and what she
Yeah,
had
for
to
sure.
say. I felt like for my first official interview with someone, this was like the best.
She's the Colombian Sam Cotterill.
Oh, I was just a fan. I feel like I had to control myself. I was like a
I
mega fan.
I could see that. I think for me, one thing that really stuck out to me was when she was talking about the Smushkins trying to develop each of their personalities.
Hmm.
She's like, I just let them speak to me. I didn't use any formulas. I didn't like go into and like try to analyze it too much. I just figured, what would this character be doing in this situation? And it was sort of like a uh, intuition about it. Whereas
Yeah.
when I do that kind of stuff, I want to use a little bit more logic. I want to use
Mhm.
a little bit more, if there's a formula for it, I'll look and see if that works for me, instead of just being like, yeah, they it feels like this. So that's something I want
Yeah.
to try.
And I think she kind of corrected me in the best way when I initially proposed it as, do you do you ask yourself what would they do in this situation? And then it was a response that was just much more real and honest, where she's just asking the characters, where do you want to sit in the tree? And
Mhm.
I'm thinking, that's what I need to do. I need to be more in conversation with my characters, and kind of like how you're talking to your kids when, where do you want to sit? Where do you want to go? And
Yeah,
then you're just learning more about them. And I thought, I need to be a bit more kind of in
there's a
it with
very
them.
fine line between being an author illustrator and being insane.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
The
true.
difference is the author illustrator has a book at the end of the hallucination.
That's true. That's true. Very good point. Very good point. I
Uh,
walk that fine line
yeah, you got to
constantly.
walk that fine line. My we have a daughter who has a child. She's sort of like a goddaughter unofficially, and she has a baby who's going to be 2. He's like 18 months old, whatever. And so my wife is like, we're starting a monthly book club. We're going to get a children's book and mail it to them each month so that she can start building her library, because they're young and can't
Yeah.
afford books. And I'm looking at these board books here, and I'm like, there we go. We got our board book for the month. We're gonna have to get those and send it out to him, because he would love it
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. That's a great idea. That's a really good idea. So Pablo and Puff needs to be part of that collection in 2027.
Yes, they do. They will. Actually, that's a if you guys have a toddler in your life, think about starting a book club for them, where
Mhm.
every month, you just pick a day of the month and say, here's a book, and kind of gets them used to being excited about books, but also building that library for them and that focus on the printed material.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think there's some good stuff happening
I
there.
think that's brilliant. It's a good idea. Really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna take us out now, if you're
Okay.
good with that. Thank you for
Cool.
joining us, everybody. And thank you, Sam. This was Sam's first interview. How do you think she did? Let us know in the comments. She's a good interviewer. Anyways, thank you. SVS Learn is what makes this podcast possible. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody on the SVS Learn team who helps out here. Our producer, Daniel Tu, our team manager, Preston Smith, our keeper of the community, Austin Shirtliff, our show notes wrangler, Lily Howell, our chief operations officer, Lisa Fott, and our illustrator, Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.